This is actually a good example of where once you have the rules more memorized, how quickly you can solve problems. So rule says we're supposed to take the bottom function, which is g, that's the x. We're supposed to multiply by the derivative of the top. Raise your hand if you know the derivative of the top. Hands up. Zach?
It's going to be 0.
How many agree? 4 points, 5 for Zach.
Can we actually talk about that a little more?
Are you okay as to why so you're okay that g is x? You're okay that you're okay that f is 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we go here. So f is just 1. F prime would be d of f over dx. You okay with that? Since f is 1, that's going to be d of 1 over dx. You good to that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Think of it this way. And go back to, so there's different ways to think of it. Let's try this explanation. Nick pointed out earlier, 2 more for Nick, that all we're doing in this class for Unit 2 is repeatedly taking some function, which is this, and we are trying to find the derivative of that function, which is nothing more than a formula for computing the tangent slope of this function. So that's what we're looking for. You good there? Awesome. As we use the derivative operator, it's as if we are doing that same process with little teeny pieces of f itself. So think of it this way. This is the same thing. We have a function called f, okay? But that function has an interesting kind of simple appearance to it. So what would that function look like if I tried to make a graph of it, Zach?
It would just be a straight line.
Yeah, horizontal line. So if f of x equals 1, the graph of f is going to look like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
There we go.
So
D of f means what's the tangent slope of that?
So in order for it to have a tangent slope, it would have to have an x in there.
Oh, thank you. Well, let me say it back to you a little bit differently. This does have a tangent slope. It's
Well,
just that
it's
tangent
not
slope is 0. You are correct. Let's do this one. Okay, first, any follow-up questions for what I just said to Zach? Emily,
Wait, so if it's a whole number as f, like when you're finding f prime, did it just give me 0?
always.
Okay.
Yeah, because if the function itself, 4 points for Emily, if the function itself is just always 1, that means all the y coordinates of the function are always 1. And because f prime represents, sorry, f prime represents the tangent slope, f prime in this case would have to be 0. You with me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Here's what else. Everyone get this one. This is very good what Zach said. 2 more. He said, oh, so that means my f of x needs to have some sort of x in the formula. So let's do this one. Okay, raise your hand if you can remember. If you don't remember, it's okay, but raise your hand if you can remember. What would a graph of that, I'm trying to get this pen to work. What would a graph of that look like? Hands up. What's that graph going to look like? Something you learned previous. I'm just trying to get you to remember it. Dan?
Just a line.
Something like that. How many knew it? 4 points, 5 for Nick. So again, that's f. So go back to Kayla's, sorry, not Kayla, but Emily's comment. If I'm looking for f prime, I'm looking for a formula that will tell me the slope, right? The slope of that function at every point. But remember, another 2 points for Emily, f prime is the same thing as d of f. And in this case, f is just 2x, sorry, 3x. Oh, come on, brain. So I go d of 3x. Raise your hand, please, and tell me. what is the slope of this function at every point? Hands up, come on, don't overthink it. What's the slope of that function at every single point? You learned this previously years ago. What's it? Well, the slope is just 3.
Oh, yeah.
It's a linear function. The slope of that is always 3. The process we've been learning tells us exactly the same thing. Because we're trying to find the derivative of f, but f is just 3x. We just use the multiplying constant rule. This becomes 3 dx dx. So there are different ways to look at what we're doing, but they're all consistent. The slope of this graph is always equal to 3. Therefore, the derivative formula would just be f prime equals 3. That was kind of a lot of discussion, but hopefully that was helpful. So, question? Awesome. Cool. Let's get rid of some of this. If this is making sense, you just have to commit to getting, for those that are a little behind, you just have to get working on the problem so that you can get this whole process in your head, because the pink sheet has to be memorized. And you have to be very good at this process in order to succeed in Unit 3. So I've got g multiplied by f prime. Now I just need f, which is 1. And I'm supposed to multiply by g prime, which means the derivative of the bottom. Hands up. Just do it in your head. What's the derivative of the bottom? The bottom's x. What's the derivative of the bottom? Let's go, Caleb. Somebody agree? Class is way too boring today. 4 points. 5 for Caleb. Divided by the bottom square. Problem solved. Y prime equals 1 and a negative 1 over x squared. Like that. Please, Jake.
Can we do a problem with the derivative of an integral?
Uh-huh. Oh.
Yeah.
Hold on. So I put on the pink sheet the formula for finding the derivative of an integral. Okay, I'll let the video record this. Because in February, we have to know how to find the derivative of an integral. We just don't use it till then.
So if we don't memorize it, that's the time?
No. No, thank you for reminding me. I totally forgot that. I didn't used to put it on this sheet because we don't use it till February. But I found over the last couple of years when I added it to the sheet, students were able to, how should I say, understand the purpose of that formula a lot better. Like they struggled when I didn't have it on the sheet. They couldn't make the connection. That really we're just doing the same thing. It's just involving an integral now, which you haven't learned about yet. This one here is also not tested on this test. This will show up on the Unit 3 test, but not on this test. The chain rule also is not tested on this test directly. It's tested indirectly in that all of the rules above the chain rule actually use the chain rule. You just don't use the chain rule explicitly on this particular test, like by itself. That'll show up on the Unit 3 test. So, other questions? Cool. Stop that one.